Our brain is actually made out of two different components. We work out of two different components, the conscious part of the brain and the subconscious part of the brain. What most people don't realize is that it's the heavy lifting that is done by the subconscious part of the brain. Where it tends to get us into trouble is when we're managing relationships. So what we want to do is remind ourselves when we're connecting and adapting with people, when we're having conversations with people, we want to keep it in the conscious part of our brain. Because our subconscious makes decisions and behaves as a result of patterns that it's built. Those patterns are based upon the experiences that we've had from birth until who we are now. And it's how we perceive the world. And yet we get together as a team or as an organization, and we can't figure out why everybody's perception isn't the same as ours. And then there's a disconnect. So there's certain things that we want to do. We want to start paying attention to the signs and signals people are giving us about how they want to be treated. Here's the good news. People are telling us all day long how they want to be treated. Here's the bad news. Most of us don't pay any attention. We just show up and deliver ourselves in the same manner to everybody. It works for some, but not for all. So what do we want to think about? Well, Albert Mehrabian helped us out by telling us there's three different components of communication that we need to pay attention to when we are building rapport. First, the words that you use. 7% of whether you are effectively communicating with somebody when trying to build rapport based upon the words you use, 7%. 5 times more important, the tone and pace of your voice. When's the last time you gave any thought to the impact your tone or pace was having? Because it's 5 times more important. There's a reason that they hire actors and actresses in courts of law to read depositions. It is because they realize with every inflection of every word, they can change the meaning of a sentence. And yet, every one of us shows up same self every day, same tone, same pace, without thought or consideration of the otherness of the other. Of course I love you. Hopefully you haven't been on the receiving end of that. My words say one thing, my tone says something entirely different. So we have to stop and think of what Carl Jung termed the otherness of the other. 55% body language, physiology. So for very easy math, 93% of whether we're effective, good communicators is not up to us. It's up to the other guy. So we don't get to have a conversation with somebody and say, whoo, really nailed that conversation, brought that point home, I was spot on. It is not up to us. It is up to the other individual. So what colors do you lead with? Here's a picture of my family. I put this up here because I want you to think about your families. Back in the days when my kids were home and we had conferences, I would bounce into my daughter Mackenzie's room. She's sunshine yellow energy. And I'd say to Kenzie, hey Kenzie, they love you. You're a leader, you're optimistic, you're including everybody. You've got great enthusiasm around the learning. Fantastic, but maybe zip the lips just a little. That's all Kenzie needed to hear. I'd leave her bedroom, I'd walk into my son who leads with cool blue energy. I'd pop in, I'd say, hey bud, just had conferences. When you're ready to chat about what's going on at school, come on downstairs, let's have a chat. Door closed. Connor needs processing time because he leads with cool blue energy. Giving him that time was the difference between an absolute exceptional conversation and what could have been a train wreck. My daughter Scotty, we just dropped her off in New York City. She leads with fiery red energy. She is going to do big things, and there are going to be a lot of dead bodies along the way. Scotty's fiery red energy. So I'd bounce into Scotty's room and say, here's the deal. You're at 98% in lit to get to 100, here's what you need. You're at 97% in calc to get to 100%, here's what you need. Get out of her way and let her work her magic. I was still being my own unique self, but I was leaning into the styles and the gifts of my children just a little bit so I can have that connection. You have to do that every day, and it happens one conversation at a time.